Hey guys, it's me Pinky. With All Out War being almost over, I sometimes have the question that people don't really understand the battle reports in the strategic game modes. Of course, it makes bragging, if you're successful, a lot harder, but mainly the problem is if you don't understand the reports and you're doing badly, then it's of course hard to improve. And I would say honestly, even if you understand your reports, it's not that easy to get a lot of useful information out of it, because they are a lot simpler than the normal battle reports, which show a lot of detail if you want to look into it. But still, I would like to give you a quick rundown how the reports work, and basically what's the main difference between a strategic game mode report and a report in, let's say, AC, PvP, Ultimate Tournament, everywhere where you use your normal troop combo and troops and don't fight in an RTS game mode. We have the All Out War folder, and even though you have some different mayors which talk about your Dragon Valley, in this case, normally if you have a fight it looks like this, and this is also from Dragon Valley, so not interesting for us. But this would be my first PvP report, my last, but my first in my mails. And the first thing that might confuse people is this, and then this here, where all numbers are a lot lower. And basically, the first thing you need to understand, this was my logistics healer wagon, and the second it got attacked, I started running away, and since imps are very slow, the fight went on for a long time. And once you are not in the fight anymore, so let's say he attacks my march with another march, and they fight for 5 seconds, and then you run away, and for the next, 3, 4, 5 seconds, nothing happens, the game will create you a report. This report here is a very short battle, where you sadly can't see how long the battle went on. And this report here, where not my healers did fight, my serious fighting march went on a lot longer. So, of course, the losses on my side are bigger, the losses on the enemy side are bigger. The first thing you need to understand, that a normal fight on classic Gotwic PvP stuff, it's always one army crashing into another army. They fight for 40 seconds, which you can look into in the battle record. But here, a fight is always as long as the troops fight against each other. So in theory, if you don't die and kill a lot of enemies and get healed and your resilience gets restored, and they march into you with a lot of armies, then the fight doesn't look like this. It will start looking like this fight. Where it's basically on the top here, if you use the small arrow, you can see which of my armies did fight, which is very useful, which most people have a problem already with finding this. And then you have a list, who did you fight all the time over these fights, and believe me, those lists can be a lot longer than here. And then basically you could look into a single fight, like against this guy, which name I won't read. And then you see, I have seriously wounded 2k and the enemy has 2.7k. And then you see how much of the troops are getting wounded. We will return to a more simple fight. It's better to explain, but just that you have seen it one time. So we go back to this fight. And basically the first thing you can see is your army size, which is the green number here. Then you can see your seriously wounded, which are here on the right side. And normally you should see another number here, but in most reports this is 0. And in some reports, there shows something up, but interesting for us is the seriously wounded, because seriously wounded is what you are doing at points in All Out War, elimination points coming from seriously wounded. Your troops that are going into hospital are seriously wounded, and what is not seriously wounded, you can either heal up, or for example in Siege of Winterfell, they straight go back into your barracks, and if you deploy a new march, let's say you had a 1 million army, then you lose 300k, you need to heal. And 700k you can just deploy again without healing, as an example. The numbers may differ in reality. And then you can open up this piece, which shows you basically the enemy, ally tag, name, avatar, which commanders he did use, what kind of dragon he did use. Then you have a power eliminated on the left is the power your enemy lost, and the power lost on the right is the power you lost. The more red the bar is, the better. And the less red and the more grey, the worse for you. as a simple thing. And then you basically see in total, again, your regiment size, your seriously wounded, and then your wounded. For example, here, I could again tell you I don't 100% understand why I have 0 wounded, because normally you should always have a few wounded, a number of wounded, and a fewer number of seriously wounded. Sometimes those are not really in the balance. This happens, for example, if you fight and you get healed, then your wounded kind of stay low, and your seriously wounded go up and up and up. And the longer the fight is, let's say you lose 400k as wounded and 400k as seriously wounded, that's always an indicator for the fight went very long and you got healed. And what I could expect here, imagine here, is that I healed up my own losses every time. So at the end of the fight I had 0 wounded, but I lost 4.6k troops in total as seriously wounded, and that's why the report shows like this. That the reports sadly are not perfect. And then you see the enemy wounded and the enemy seriously wounded. And here you can, for example, see it's 64k basically wounded, which he lost in the single fight. He did run a few times into me, and you only have 10 million free troops. If you fight like this, like he did often, it's kind of expensive. You always want to counter your enemy, and in this case he was also running away from me because he chased my healer. If you're running away and not standing still, you are not really effectively fighting back. But sadly, this is all information you can't really see in the reports here. You have to have a gut feeling, basically. So you fight, look into the report after the fight, but for that you need to understand why I hear so high losses. For example, and here this report is so unbloody, but it's just, this report basically is like 5 seconds, and this here is most likely 1 minute or something. And sadly, there's no indicator when the fight did start and when it did end. And the last thing you can look at is the stat bonus, where you can see my stats on the left side, and you could in theory see the enemy stats on the right side. And yeah, then you can in theory, special effects is mostly dragon skills. At least I don't know anything which is not a dragon skill, which gets listed down here. But sadly, stuff like you can't really see how much damage does Daenerys proc, how fast does my snare proc in my case, or in his case, how effective is my Sandor. Stuff like this you can't really take away from the reports. You can of course look at when Daenerys does her dragon attack visually, and then you can look at the losses appearing on the screen. But honestly, if you have a big fight, this is also kind of impossible to filter out. But still, I think being able to understand the little things you get shown here is at least helpful to improve. Because in theory, let's say I would lose against him, against Dr. Greenthumb, and then I try different armies out, and then I save my reports, and then I look at them, and I always fight until my army is dead. Then I could at least look at, hey, look, with those commanders I did a lot better than, I don't know, with those. And like this you can make assumptions on which lineups are better. Of course they're still not perfect, because your enemy could be with low resilience and or if. But still, I think you can at least get some information out of here, and I hope this did understand you to understand the battle reports.